Good evening, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, and you're tuned in live to the show of the land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight, we're going to talk about the Browns going to the playoffs. That's right, the Browns are going to the playoffs. We will talk about some injury updates, some roster changes, and some other things going on with the Browns as well. And we will talk about the upcoming game on Sunday. That means absolutely nothing to anybody, but it's still a game. And then we will talk about who we may face in the playoffs. After that, we'll talk some basketball with the Cavs and the Charge, who are both at the moment. Then we will talk some hockey with the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Cleveland Monsters. The Monsters were on a 7-game winning streak. That did get broken, but, you know, it is what it is. But they're still doing very well. And, you know, Columbus is starting to look a little more together, though they're still losing. But, you know, it is what it is. But before we get started on all of that, let's talk about our sponsor, Planet Jerky. Be sure to check them out at planetjerky.net and on Instagram at Planet Jerky. It is premium beef brisket jerky with gluten-free options, no MSG, low in sodium, high in protein. So get on, and I'm sorry, in the chat, Larry B said OH, and Taryn said NO. I have to agree with that. But anyway, back to Planet Jerky. Get on and order you some. They offer free shipping on all orders over $50, and they have at least 7 flavors to choose from your basic barbecue to Carolina Reaper. So if you like it hot, they've got it. So get on planetjerky.net and get you some jerky that is out of this world. Also, be sure to check out IE Sports Radio on all of the socials: Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. And check out our website, iesportsradio.com, where you will find bios on all of our hosts and the different shows, the show lineups. You will also find the IE Sports Radio Hall of Fame, who just had 4 inductees last week. Larry B., our founder and host of 3 and Out, as well as co-host on the Sport Couples Perspective with his wife, Cecilia. And he also does the 3 and Out College Edition with Taryn Rodriguez. So be sure to check those shows out. And congratulations to Larry B. Also added to our Hall of Fame, Ralph Calise, who just joined the IE Sports Radio family to do our Pittsburgh show, the Yinzer Report. And Mikey Two Guns, the host of our Boston show, Our Bleepin' City. And last but not least, Patty Champion, who is a fan of our Buffalo show, the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Backs. So congratulations to all 4 newly inducted Hall of Fame inductees. I feel like I'm repeating myself. That didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. Anywho. Also on there is our blog. Larry B says Jen B and Ralph Calise best friends. Dog pound. Here we go. Yes. AFC North strong. Anyway, be sure to check out our blog. There is a new blog that was just posted by our own Mike Pat, who does the Let's Whine About DMV Sports show. And also does most of our blogs. I will actually be writing a blog here shortly. I'm in the process of getting all of my info together about the Cinderella story that is the Browns this season. So I am looking forward to writing that, and it is going to be fun. So let's get into some Browns now. So we started out the week with things a little iffy. Dustin Hopkins, Anthony Walker, Obo Okoronkwo were all ruled out for Thursday very early on in the week. Corey Bojorquez was listed as doubtful and ended up being ruled out. Amari Cooper, Marquise Goodwin, and Juan Thornhill were all questionable. Marquise Goodwin and Juan Thornhill did play. Amari Cooper was ruled out shortly before the game started. He went out and did warm-ups and felt he could not go. The field was not in the greatest condition. It was very damp. So he is dealing with a heel injury that apparently happened in the last game, but we just found out about it sometime last week. So anyway, he did end up getting ruled out, so that was a little scary going into the game with out Amari Cooper, but it worked out. Joe Flacco won FedEx Air Player of the Week last week. Amari Cooper was named AFC Player of the Week. And kicker Riley Patterson and punter Matt Hawk were elevated from the practice squad for the game against the Jets. At halftime, the Browns were up 34-17. Elijah Moore left in the first half with a concussion. He was evaluated in the hospital overnight and released on Friday and is in concussion protocol. Per Kevin Stefanski, he is doing much better. Also per Elijah Moore, who tweeted multiple or X'd, whatever the heck you call them. I'm calling them tweets because anything else sounds weird. Tweeted a 3-post thank you for all your prayers. I'm doing well. Let's get this done in the playoffs. I'm so excited. Post. So he seems to be doing better. Also, per Kevin Stefanski, Amari Cooper is doing much better. And the concussion was awful to see. Elijah Moore was posturing on the field and possibly had a seizure, hence him being taken to the hospital. But from all accounts, he is doing much better. So we will see what happens with that. I do not expect him to play on Sunday, but maybe, just maybe, we'll have him back for the playoffs. The Browns ended up winning 37-20 to clinch a playoff berth. Then, of course, the Ravens absolutely slaughtered the Dolphins on Sunday, which made it so that the Browns have clinched the 5 seed. They will not be any higher or any lower, no matter what happens next weekend. And the Ravens, of course, clinched the 1 seed. And home field throughout. Boo. Boo Ravens. Anyway, Mike Ford Jr. got a calf injury during the game. There haven't been any major updates on injuries other than to say that Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore are doing better because, of course, everybody's worried about us not having any receivers. But we should have some injury updates probably tomorrow. Flacco went 19 for 29, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And he is once again up for FedEx Air Player of the Week. David Njoku had 6 receptions for 134 yards. Most of that was in the first half. Myles Garrett and Alex Wright each recorded a sack. Ronnie Hickman had a pick 6. And in the chat, Taryn says, Browns should rest their starters. Do not play starters like Brandon Staley did for the Chargers last year. So Kevin Stefanski was asked how he's going to handle this. And he said, I'll let you guys know, basically. And then he said, Obviously, I can't rest all of the starters because we wouldn't have enough players to field a team. So I expect that anybody with any type of lingering injury or who shows up on the injury report this week will likely not play. Amari Cooper probably won't play. Elijah Moore is still in concussion protocol, most likely won't play. Dustin Hopkins probably won't play. Joe Bitonio may or may not play, depending on where things are with his back issues. Most of the defense likely will play, maybe not Juan Thornhill. And they'll probably, the main starters will be probably on pitch counts, like Myles Garrett, JOK, Za'Darius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, etc., etc. Denzel Ward, given his injury history and him being prone to injury, he may not play. We have enough DBs that's not that big of an issue if he doesn't play. So we'll see what they end up doing. Jerome Ford has also been in and on and off the injury report all season, so I would expect that he probably won't play. Or they may just have him play like the first quarter, but we will see what they decide to do. Shout out to Adam Karnick, host of Chi-Town Weekly, in the chat. He says, how far can the Browns go? Honestly, the only team I'm worried about in the playoffs is the Ravens. And we already beat them once in Baltimore. So I think they can make it to the AFC Championship. But it all depends on how things go with injuries and if Joe Flacco keeps up what he's been doing the last 5 weeks. But I do think that they can at least make it to the AFC Championship. I'm not at all concerned about the first round of the playoffs because we have beat all 3 of the teams that we may face. But we'll see. I mean, CJ Stroud scares me a little bit, because we didn't face him. He was in concussion protocol, so we'll see. But special teams also blocked a field goal. Shelby Harris got his hands on it. Kevin Stefanski is the first Browns coach with 2 playoff bursts in his tenure since Marty Schottenheimer. Also, the first Browns coach since Paul Brown. That's right, Paul Brown. Founder of the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals. To have 2 11-plus win seasons in their tenure. The Browns assigned quarterback Jeff Driscoll to the active roster from the Cardinals practice squad. They released Sam Kamara. Joe Flacco is the first quarterback in NFL history with 250-plus yards and 2 touchdowns in each of his first 5 starts with a new team. I already talked about the Ravens slaughtering the Dolphins. That was my next note. Anyway, Sunday we play the Bengals in Cincinnati at 1 p.m. Like I said, I don't know who will play. From the sounds of it, from the player interviews, the players want to go down to Cincinnati and kick some ass. So, I think even if it's a lot of backups, they are going to put up a fight and try and win that game and get the 12 wins. So, we'll see what happens. But then today, the Browns signed defensive end Sam Kamara to the practice squad, and they released punter Matt Hawk and guard Joey Fisher, which tells me that Corey Bojorquez is good to go. So that's good news. At least we get our punter back. And on a sad note, former Browns quarterback Frank Ryan passed away today, or not today, I'm sorry, yesterday, at age 87. He was the last living player from the 1964 championship team. So, I have been saying since the day Jim Brown passed away that the cards are aligning for the Browns to go to the Super Bowl this year. First Jim Brown, then Nick Chubb went down, and the entire team vowed that this season was for Chubb. Before Chubb went down, Chubb dedicated his entire season to Jim Brown. And now, the last living player from the team, last championship, passed away. So, you heard it here. The Browns are going to the Super Bowl. And they're going to win it, too. And there is also a video that I saw on, I believe it was X yesterday. It might have been TikTok, but I'm pretty sure it was X. When Joe Flacco was shaking hands with some of the Jets players. I'm not sure who it was because I couldn't get a good look at him because he was on the other side of Joe Flacco and the picture was of Joe Flacco's back. So I couldn't really tell who the player was, but when they were shaking hands, he said, you know, I'm from here. And Joe said, you are? And he was like, yeah. And then he said, bring us home a ship. And Joe said, I will. Whew. Gives me chills. So in the chat, Taryn says, Browns have a Super Bowl type defense. No one is going to want to face them. And I completely agree with you, Taryn. And that is what all of the talking heads in the sports world are also saying. It's so weird as a Browns fan, given our history and where things have been for the last 25 years. It is so weird to hear the national media praising the Browns. It's like unreal. But I was watching a sports show I think it was either yesterday or Sunday, and they were talking about who don't teams want to face in the playoffs, and like the head guy posed the question to the rest of the panel, and Rex Ryan was on. He was one of them, and he just kind of bit his lip, like he didn't want to be the first one to say it, and then one of the other guys goes, the Browns. Nobody wants to face the Browns. Nobody. And then Rex Ryan says, I was going to say that, but I didn't want to be the first one. So, there were 3 guys on the panel. I don't recall who all they were other than Rex Ryan, but they all agreed the Browns. They also said, the one guy also said, of course, you can never count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and then the Ravens, of course. And he also made an argument for the Bills. So it was an interesting show, but the two were adamant. Nobody wants to play the Browns. Nobody. So that was nice to hear. And then Adam Carnake says that Paul Brown note. Wow, that's a long stretch of futility. You're telling me. I actually looked it up to make sure it was true, and it is. It's crazy. All the times in the late 80s and in the 90s when the Browns made it to the playoffs, they never had more than 10 wins. Never. They were all 10-win seasons or less. A couple of them were 8-8, and they took the division. That's how crazy the AFC Central was. And thank you for joining, Patty. And I hope you also have a great show right after this. But before I take a quick break, we're going to talk about those stinking Buckeyes. As soon as I figure out where I have the note. Those stinking Buckeyes. That's what I'm calling them. Them stinking Buckeyes. There it is. They were in the Cotton Bowl. And they lost to Missouri. 14-3. Devin Brown looked absolutely and totally lost out there. Lost. It was awful. It was so bad. So I don't know. I don't know about next season, but we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing. They need to go out and get one of them QBs out of the transfer portal. It's absolutely not going to work with Devin Brown, I don't think. But, maybe they'll get him up to speed. I don't know. And after the game, Michael Hall Jr. declared for the 2024 NFL Draft. And to answer Taryn's question last week, Marvin Harrison did not play in the Cotton Bowl, and he did not even announce that he wasn't going to play until about an hour before the game. So, that was nice. That was super nice. So, yeah. But that is going to wrap things up for football. I am going to take a short break, and then I will be back to talk some basketball, the Cavs, the Charge, and some college basketball on the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
You're back live with Jen B on the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And be sure to check out all of our great shows. You can get them anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just search IE Sports Radio and it will pull up most, if not all, of the shows. Now on to some basketball. The Cavs with their injuries. Ugh. On Wednesday, they were in Dallas against the Mavericks. And as we just heard, please tune in to the Heart of Texas show with It's Drewski for everything Dallas sports. The starting five were Craig Porter Jr., Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, and Jarrett Allen. At the end of one, the Cavs were down 39-27. At the half, they were down 69-54. And at the end of three, they were down 90-88. But they won 113-110. Karis LeVert led with 29 points. Jarrett Allen had a double-double with 24 points and 23 rebounds. Crazy, right? Way to go, Jarrett. Friday, they played the Milwaukee Bucks in Cleveland. At the end of one, let's do the starting five first. That would make more sense. The starting five were Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell, who returned from illness, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, and Jarrett Allen. At the end of one, they were up 37-31. The end of the half, they were up 59-52. At the end of three, they were down 92-80, and they ended up losing 119-111. Donovan Mitchell led with 34 points, and Jarrett Allen had another double-double with 30 points and 12 rebounds. Last night, they played the Toronto Raptors in Toronto, and the starting five were Max Strus, Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, and Jarrett Allen. At the end of one, they were down 41-32. The end of the half, down 67-59. At the end of three, they were down 98-91, and they fell just short of the comeback and ended up losing 124-121. Karis LeVert led with 31 points, and Jarrett Allen had another double-double with 16 points and 11 rebounds. So Jarrett Allen has really been stepping up with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland out. Unfortunately, they're not scoring enough points. Their next games are tomorrow against the Wizards, or the Lizards, as Mike Pat calls them. And then Friday again against the Wizards. And Sunday against the Spurs. So if they don't win all three of those games, I might cry. Because all or both of those teams are awful this season. Which means the Cavs will probably lose. But we will keep our hopes up and hope for a 3-game winning streak. On to the Cleveland Charge. On Friday, they played the Long Island Nets, and they won 123-122. Sharif Cooper led with 36 points and had a double-double with 14 assists. Isaiah Mobley also had a double-double with 31 points and 14 rebounds. Saturday, they again played the Long Island Nets. This time they lost 147-105. Isaiah Mobley led with 34 points, and nobody had a double-double. Their next games are tonight against Salt Lake City Stars and Saturday against the Santa Cruz Warriors. And now for some college basketball. Ohio State played West Virginia and won 78-75. Their next games are tomorrow against Rutgers and Saturday at Indiana. Akron played St. Bonaventure and lost 62-61. Their next games are tonight at NIU and Friday against Bowling Green. Kent State played St. Mary's of California and lost 66-46. Their next games are tonight against Ball State and Saturday at Eastern Michigan. Youngstown played Oakland and lost 88-81. Their next games are Thursday at Northern Kentucky and Sunday versus IUPUI. Cleveland State played Oakland and won 75-67. And then they played IUPUI and lost 86-77. Their next games are Thursday at Wright State and Sunday against Northern Kentucky. Mount Union did not play last week. Their next games are tomorrow against Baldwin Wallace and Saturday at Otterbein. And in the chat, Taryn Rodriguez is telling me that Ohio State men's volleyball kicks off their season tomorrow against North Greenville. And the Buckeyes look promising this season. And he will be seeing them on January 19th and 20th when they play UCLA and USC. So, go Ohio State men's volleyball. And be sure to check out Taryn Rodriguez on Set Point for everything volleyball. That is going to wrap things up for basketball. So I am going to take another short break, and then I will be back to finish things up with some hockey and a wrap up of this week and what's to come next week. You're listening live to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome to the 305, aka the Magic City, and this is Magic City Scoreboard. I'm your host, JB, and right here we're going to talk anything Miami. Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat, Miami Hurricanes, Marlins, Panthers, Inter Miami, and even high school football. So join me once a week right here on Magic City Scoreboard on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed to all that is sports.
Do you love college football? And do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernan.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the '08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
You're back live with Jen B on the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I thought it was fitting to end with the Neutral Zone drop, since I will be talking hockey. Be sure to check out Adam and Zach on the Neutral Zone. If you love hockey, they talk about all of the hockey. Not just the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like me. So, on Wednesday, the Blue Jackets played the New Jersey Devils in New Jersey. Jake Bean scored a goal in the first period, then the Devils tied it up, and at the end of one, it was 1-1. Then Justin Danforth got a goal in the second period, and then Zach Werenski got hurt. He went down, tried to literally crawl to the bench. They had to stop play to help him off the rink, and he was not able to put weight on his left leg. It has since come out that it is an ankle injury, and he is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So yay for the injuries, because that's what we like to talk about on this show. Injuries. Anyway, at the end of 2, the Blue Jackets were up 2-1. The Devils tied it back up in the third. Then Chinnikov got a goal. Then the Devils tied it up again. And it was tied 3-3 at the end of 3. And the Devils ended up winning it in overtime 4-3. Friday, the Blue Jackets played the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Leafs scored first. Then Cole Sillinger tied it up, and then the Leafs took the lead, and at the end of 1, they were down 2-1. Then the Leafs got another goal, and were up 3-1. Then Brendan Gaunce got a goal, and it was 3-2. Elvis Merzlikins was replaced at goal by Spencer Martin due to illness. Again, this is like the third time he's been out with an illness. I don't like it. Something's up there. Something is up. But I don't know what. So, we'll see. I saw some posts on X after he left this game, because this is the second game that he has left in the middle of the game with an illness. And they said perhaps management should be looking into what's really going on, because he seems to be getting ill way too often. Anyway. Then the Leafs scored a goal on a power play, and it was 4-2. Then Voronkov had a power play goal, bringing the score to 4-3. Then Kent Johnson tied it up 4-4. Bonet got in Fantilli's face, and Goodbranson took exception and dropped the gloves, and a fight ensued with Bonet. Both Goodbranson and Bonet got 5-minute majors. And then the Leafs scored a goal, and at the end of 2, they were up 5-4. Then Adam Fantilli tied it up 5-5. It was 5-5 at the end of 3 and went into overtime. And Johnny Gaudreau scored the game winner in overtime. And the Blue Jackets won 6-5. Woohoo! They got a win. Sean Corelli was placed on IR, and Jake Christensen was recalled from the Cleveland Monsters. And Saturday, the Blue Jackets played the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. Damon Severson scored the first goal, and it was 1-0 at the end of 1. The Sabres tied it up, and then Adam Fantilli scored a goal, and the Blue Jackets were up 2-1 at the end of 2. Then the Sabres tied it up, and it was 2-2 at the end of 3, and Sabres got the win in overtime, 3-2. The Blue Jackets' next games are tonight against the Boston Bruins. So check out Our Bleepin' City with Mikey Two Guns and Swizzle for more on Boston sports. Thursday, they will be at the Philadelphia Flyers. And for more on Philly sports, you can check out Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris. And that is actually later tonight, so be sure to check that out. And then Saturday, they will be playing the Minnesota Wild. And we don't have a Minnesota show yet, so I can't tell you which one to listen to on that one yet. But anyway, some news with the Monsters. Head coach Trent Vogelhuber has been named coach of the North Division at the 2024 AHL All-Star Classic. The Monsters recalled, and I am not going to pronounce this right, but I'm going to give it a nice try. They recalled Ol Bjorvik Holm from ECHL, and they signed Matthew Wedmonto to a PTO contract, and then they released him from the PTO contract. So that didn't last long. Anywho, Wednesday they played the Toronto Marlies, and they won 3-2. Corson Kulemans scored the first goal, and the Monsters were up 1-0 at the end of one. The Marlies tied it up, and then Trey Fix-Wolanski scored a goal, and the Monsters were up 2-1 at the end of two. Then Owen Sillinger scored a goal, and then the Marlies scored, bringing the score to 3-2, and that was the final, and the Monsters won. Saturday, they played the Chicago Wolves, and they won 4-3 in overtime. Mikhail, another name I can't pronounce, Mikhail Paitia scored a goal, and the Monsters were up 1-0 at the end of one. Then Billy Sweezy scored a goal, and the Monsters were up 2-0, and then Chicago tied it up, and it was 2-2 at the end of two. Owen Sillinger scored a goal, then Chicago got a power play goal to tie it back up at 3, and at the end of 3 it was 3-3, and then Owen Sillinger got the winning goal in overtime to win 4-3. Sunday, the Monsters played the Grand Rapids Griffins and lost 5-1, breaking their 7-game winning streak. Mikhail Paitia had the only goal for the Monsters. The Monsters' next games are Wednesday in Toronto against the Marlies, Friday in Rochester against the Americans, and Saturday in Cleveland, also against the Rochester Americans. And that is all for hockey. So, before I wrap things up, I forgot to mention when I was talking about the Browns, they are in the playoffs. However, all of the seeds are not decided yet. So, as it stands right now, the Browns will face either the Jaguars, the Texans, or the Colts, depending on how the Jaguars-Carolina game turns out and how the Texans-Colts game turns out. If the Jaguars win, we will play the Jaguars. If the Jaguars don't win, we will play the winner of the Texans-Colts game. Now, if the Jaguars lose to the Panthers, they probably don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. But that being said, that is how it will work. If the Jaguars win, that's who we're playing. We will be playing the Jaguars in Jacksonville. If they lose, we will play the winner of the Texans-Colts game. And we will be either in Houston or Indianapolis. So, that is where things stand with that. So we've got the Browns in the playoffs, the Cavs battling injury, the Charge holding their own with their players in and out of the Cavs rotation for the most part. Craig Porter has pretty much been permanently with the Cavs, and Imoni Bates and Isaiah Mobley have been back and forth between the two teams because of all the injuries that the Cavs have had. The Charge have also been dealing with some injuries, so that has not helped. And then we have the Blue Jackets doing Blue Jacket things. And, you know, they win some, they lose some. All of that fun stuff. And the Monsters are doing great. Last I checked, they were in first place. I believe they still are. I suppose I could look it up real quick and be sure. But, yeah, the Monsters are doing very well. They had a little losing skid there for a while the my gosh, I forgot what they're called. The Blue Jackets were dealing with a shortage at goaltender. They had to call up Jet Greaves from the Monsters, and he is their their main goaltender. So they were struggling a little bit without him. But and yes, the Cleveland Monsters are in first place in the North Division with 43 points. The number 2 team is at 36, so they're in first place by a lot. But Adam in the chat says, "Aren't hockey names fun?" Yeah, the Blue Jackets just love to throw those names at me. Most of the Monsters' names are pretty easy, but the Blue Jackets have all these Russians, and it's very hard to pronounce. Some of them have even hard to pronounce first names, so it's fun. It's fun. It's really fun trying to figure out some of these names, but it is. I'll get there. Like, some of them I hear them, like, when I watch the games, so then I know how to say it, but the Monsters are hardly ever on TV, so I don't really get to watch Monsters games live to really hear the pronunciations of the names, so that makes it a little more difficult, but with the Blue Jackets, at least I can hear the names, so that helps the pronunciation stick a little better. But yeah. So it's time to cue the music, folks. So that is all for tonight. Thank you for joining me, Jen B, on the Show of the Land. Be sure to follow me on X, Instagram, and Threads at Believe Land Girl, and on TikTok at Jen, Jenn, .believeland. Also follow the show for daily updates on all that is Cleveland and Columbus sports. On X at Show of the Land IE. Also, be sure to follow IE Sports Radio on all the socials. Next up is the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Backs with all that is Buffalo sports. And be sure to catch me next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on the Show of the Land for more on Cleveland and Columbus sports, where we will talk playoffs. Right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great night, Ohio.
What?